Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over how to adjust to and succeed in the new Fortnitemares version of Fortnite. So this update as a whole has gotten a lot of backlash within the community, and I for the most part would definitely agree with that. There are some parts of Fortnitemares that I legitimately do really like, but there are also a lot of negatives which kinda cancel out the positives from this update, and we'll definitely get into both those negatives and positives at some point in this video. But no matter how much you love or hate Fortnitemares, it's here to stay until at least November 26th, I believe, so almost exactly a month from when I'm going to release this video. I know Epic added a normal squads option, but based on what I've been told, that probably isn't permanent, and it's likely going to rotate with normal duos and normal solos, with only one being available at each given time. So if you want to play a specific game mode, most of the time Fortnitemares is going to be your only option, so it's probably a good idea to learn how to play it, and without further ado, let's get right into that. Alright guys, so the first thing that's gotta be discussed about the Fortnitemares update is obviously the addition of the cube monsters, or zombies as they're more commonly known as, into solos, duos, and squads inside of Fortnite. This is probably the number one thing that people are complaining about when it comes to Fortnitemares, and we'll get into why that is in a bit. So I thought it'd be a good idea to start this video off by actually showing you guys some basic info about the cube monsters, because it's just helpful to know that kind of stuff. There are 5 different types of cube monsters that spawn in multiplayer Fortnite. The Cube Fiend, Elite Cube Fiend, Cube Brute, Elite Cube Brute, and finally the Mega Cube Brute. And I'll put pictures of each of these on the screen quickly. The Cube Fiend, which is the slim zombie looking guy, gives 3 shield once eliminated. The Elite Cube Fiend, which is basically just a purple Cube Fiend, gives 5 shield once eliminated. The Cube Brute, which is basically just a thick Cube Fiend, gives 10 shield once eliminated. The Elite Cube Brute, which is basically just a purple Cube Brute, gives 15 shield once eliminated. And finally, the Mega Cube Brute, which looks exactly like the Thing from the Fantastic Four, gives 20 shield once eliminated. So for as annoying as these zombies can be, they actually can be equally as helpful if you learn how to take advantage of them. First off, they are incredible for gaining shield, loot, and ammo. If you are ever at anything less than 100 shield, all it's going to take for you to fill that up is just to find one of the cube spawners and go to town on it for about 15 seconds. Seriously, if you have a really powerful weapon like a gold scar or even just a blue AR, and you aim for the head of all of the monsters that come out of the spawner, you can gain about 30 to 50 shield per clip. Along with that, the monsters also pretty frequently drop additional shields, weapons, and even items like rifts to go and launch pads. And on top of all of that crazy stuff, destroying any of the monster spawners also drops you some pretty crazy loot. It seems like it's basically the equivalent of a supply drop, and me and my friends were actually playing a game last night where we got 3 gold scars in a row from destroying 3 of these spawners. So what I think they really do in the grand scheme of things is make less populated landing spots a bit more viable and kinda decrease a lot of the RNG associated with shield in Fortnite. Without these cube monster spawners, landing at smaller, less populated areas of the map is definitely kinda risky because you're putting a lot of faith into maybe 3 chest spawns and 4 or 5 item spawns. If you get unlucky, you could walk out of your starting area with maybe a white burst AR, white tack, and some clinger grenades. But now, all you have to do is find one of the numerous monster spawners on the map, and in about a minute or two, you'll go from pretty screwed to pretty stacked. And it's the same thing with shields. Even landing tilted pretty much every game I play, there are still tons of times where I'll go 4 or 5 minutes in the beginning of the game without even finding a single piece of shield. And trust me, those RNG deaths where you die to someone with 100 health when you only have 100 are some of the most frustrating in all of Fortnite. So when you look at just the positives, these monsters do have a fairly positive role in multiplayer Fortnite. just make sure whenever you're farming the spawners that you're aware of what's going on around you, because the loud noises will 100% give away your position. It may even be smart in squads or duos just to have a dedicated lookout to make sure you don't get jumped by another team without hearing it first. However, even though there are some positives to the monsters, there are just as many negatives as well, and I'll start listing off some of the most obvious and annoying ones. The noises when you're anywhere near a spawner are just way too loud. You get aim assist on all the monsters, so good luck trying to fight a player who's in the middle of a horde of them. On top of that, in medium or long range fights, good luck trying to determine whether you're shooting at a monster or at an actual enemy. The amount of monsters cause lag and frame rate drop for certain people, and finally, endgame right now is in a pretty horrible spot overall because it basically just turns into every player getting swarmed by like 20 monsters at a time. This list of these issues and complaints can go on, and I'm even going to dedicate a section of this video specifically on how to play endgame because it's so much different now with these monster spawners, so definitely stay tuned if you want to know about that. Next thing we've got to discuss in this video, even though it isn't exclusive to Fortnitemares, are the new glider redeployment mechanics in Fortnite. Now at first I was totally against this change because it just seemed like they were fixing something that was never really broken. But I held off on making this video for a few days because I really wanted to get a feel of all of the new changes, and this one has kinda grown on me a bit. I'm still definitely not 100% in favor of it, but I feel like it's a mechanic that can actually be really rewarding to smart players. Basically, the redeploying of gliders offers a non-RNG type of fast travel, which mainly rewards players who are able to constantly establish high ground and build fights, and players who are smart when it comes to engaging and disengaging in fights. It's actually really satisfying to be able to outbuild players for high ground now without having the constant fear of being shot out and either falling to your death or at least taking some fall damage. Along with that, redeploying your glider gives you the ability to either engage or disengage from any fight within only a matter of seconds. And like I've said before, knowing when to engage and disengage from fights is one of those hidden skills that great players have, and this change just makes it easier to showcase. And finally, the new glider redeployment feature is great for simply finding more players in a given game. My next video is actually going to be a 29 kill solo gameplay, which I believe is currently the console Fortnite record, so spoiler alert there. And in that gameplay, you'll see I found the majority of players in the middle game by simply building to the sky and dive bombing anyone I saw or anyone that even shot at me. So with glider redeployment, you can basically use around 150 materials as a replacement for a launch pad whenever you want, and I think that's a super cool feature. Now apparently this change is being beta tested right now with a 1-week trial period, but honestly, despite initial negative response from the community, I actually expect it to stay since it seems to be growing on a lot of people, with me definitely being one of them. So as I mentioned earlier, the final thing that we're going to cover in this video today is the endgame in Fortnitemares, which is dramatically different than the endgame in normal Fortnite. The first thing that needs to be discussed is how to deal with the monsters in an endgame scenario. Now, as I was in the process of making this video, Fortnite actually announced that they're going to decrease the number of endgame spawners from 5 to 3 to try to decrease the amount of monsters in the endgame. And even though it helps the problem, the zombies will definitely still be a major factor. And I can't emphasize enough how important finding and staying on a spot of natural high ground is now in endgame especially. With these monsters swarming everywhere you go and destroying any kind of structure that you try to build, it makes it very, very difficult as a whole to build and protect yourself. And if you can get on top of a mountain or a barn or even just a normal house that's inside of the final circles, you can basically just look for players being chased by zombies and pick them off one by one. This is especially important in squads or duos because if you're on the ground and one of your teammates goes down, it's going to be almost impossible to revive them with the monster swarming you, especially with the new change which makes players bleed out twice as fast now. And the final quick little tip involves the new endgame storms which never stop moving, which was yet another change included in the Fortnitemares update. These storms make it very be very difficult to use any kind of slow healing, which basically means that it's going to be almost impossible to get off a medkit or chug jug. Therefore, it's actually smart in a lot of situations to dedicate an inventory spot for bandages when going into the final circles, because that's pretty much the only type of healing you'll be able to reliably use. And on top of that, anytime you need shield, you can simply shoot at the hordes of zombies from your position of natural high ground. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to leave me a comment down in the comment section below. Last video I asked you guys your general thoughts on Fortnitemares, but in this video I want to know, which do you prefer more, Fortnitemares Fortnite or just normal Fortnite? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.